Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, lovers and seekers, those who are lost and those who are found. Tonight, I will be reading from the compilation titled Outlaw Creative, The Geometry of Life. Our topic this evening, the following line: If there's a God, he's a hard kind of man. Let's begin. Let's take that line apart slowly. It's doing a lot of work in not many words. 1. The whole weight of if. It doesn't start with since there's a God or because God is good. It starts with if there's a God. That if is not academic. It reads like it's been earned the hard way. It doesn't say there is no God. It also refuses to say, of course there is. It's the conditional of someone who has seen enough suffering that easy belief feels dishonest, not been able to fully let go, but also cannot fully sign on. So the line lives in this stance: I'm not granting you existence as a freebie. If I allow that you exist, you don't come in as a gentle therapist. You come in under cross-examination. The if is the hand still on the brake. 2. There's a God, not God is love. Notice what you don't say. You don't say, if there's a God, he loves us. If there's a God, he cares. If there's a God, he's with us. The line says, if there's a God, he's a hard kind of man. You jump straight from existence to character, and you don't pick the soft adjectives. That's crucial. It means the problem for the speaker is not, does God exist? The deeper problem is, what kind of being would preside over a world like this? The answer given is, not a gentle father, not a pastel comforter, not a big blanket of affirmation, but hard. 3. He's a hard kind of man. The anthropomorphic punch, the line doesn't say, he's a hard kind of God. He's a harsh principle. He's a distant force. The line says, he's a hard kind of man. That does two things at once, brings God down to our scale. God as a man is not abstract. It makes God comparable to the hardest men the speaker knows: stern fathers, unforgiving bosses, sergeants, ranchers, men who don't flinch but don't hug either. Turns judgment back toward God. If God is like a man, then God is no longer beyond critique. You're allowed to look at him the way you'd look at any man with authority. Does he protect? Does he abandon? Does he hit? Does he keep his word? You're not worshiping an untouchable abstraction here. You're dealing with a personality type. 4. The phrase hard kind of man, not just hard man. The small word kind matters. The line doesn't say he's a hard man. The line says a hard kind of man. That suggests a category, a type. There are many kinds of men. This is one particular kind. Doesn't talk much. Makes decisions that hurt. Stays on his feet when others break. Often tells himself he had no choice. Measures love in provision, not affection. There's also a distinction between kinds of hardness: hard like a shield, tough but protective. Hard like a fist, tough and damaging. The line doesn't clarify which. It just asserts whichever kind he is, softness is not his defining trait. So the listener is left to fill in that blank with their own experience. For some, a hard man is reliable in a crisis. For others, a hard man is the one who never showed up when they cried. The line holds both possibilities in tension. 5. The world implied behind the line. A sentence like this doesn't come from a comfy life. It comes from hospitals where healing took too long or never came, wars, divorces, betrayals, rooms where prayers bounced off the drywall, long seasons where the loving God flyers felt like bad jokes. So the underlying logic is something like, look around. The world is often brutal, indifferent, slow to rescue. If there is a God behind this, he can't be the soft focus version that gets marketed. He'd have to be a God whose way of loving, if he loves at all, is hard. In that sense, the line is not abstract theology. It's a reading of the evidence: skeletons and storms, kids in oncology wards, quiet car rides home from failed interventions. And then, okay, if someone's in charge of this, he's not gentle. 6. Faith is negotiation, not surrender. If there is a God, he's a hard kind of man, sits in the same world as, I keep one bullet in my mouth for hymns I say alone. I'm a bullet of prayer in a dying star, dust on my hat, blood on the moon. It's the theology of not being naive about God, not being naive about the world, refusing to bow cheaply. This line says if I acknowledge him, I'm not crawling, I'm dealing, I'm facing a hard man hard. Faith here is closer to a wary truce with a dangerous ranch boss than to a child on a lap. There's respect, maybe even awe, but not unguarded trust. That's why the line feels honest. It doesn't polish God to make him safe. 7. The shadow of the cross without naming it. If you drag this into Christian territory for a second, in that story, what does God do? He lets his own son be tortured and executed. He does not intervene with obvious power to stop it. He builds salvation out of suffering, betrayal, blood, and silence. You can read that as infinite love, or as the behavior of a hard kind of man who believes in purpose through pain. So even at the center of the God is love story, there's an unignorable hardness, a God who will walk through hell with you, but not necessarily around it. A God who doesn't seem committed to sparing his favorites from agony. Your line leans into that side of it without decoration. 8. The emotional posture inside the sentence. Emotionally, the line carries resentment. If he exists, he's got a lot to answer for. Respect. He's no weakling or sentimental fool. Weariness. I've seen too much to pretend he's soft. Refusal to lie. I won't call him gentle if the world doesn't look gentle. What it doesn't carry is cheery optimism, easy atheism, or half-hearted piety. It's the voice of a man standing under a red moon with dust on his hat saying, if there's someone up there, he's as hard as this night. 9. Why the line works. It works because it compresses a whole lived theology into one, almost offhand clause. It keeps the door to God halfway open if. It names the cost of keeping that door open hard. It drags God down into a human category kind of man, where his character can be questioned, not just worshipped. So the line is less a doctrinal statement and more a courtroom line. If he's real, he's not innocent, and he's not soft. He's the hard kind of man you survive under, not the soft kind you lean on. And from that starting point, every other line you've been writing, bullets of prayer, dust on the hat, blood on the moon, starts to feel like the daily liturgy of someone trying to live and sometimes still sing under a God like that.